Hmm. We're rolling.
We're rolling.
We're rolling.
We are.
Hmm.
You sure? All
Yeah.
right, everybody. I'm Leroy. That's Michael. Michael for real this time. We had some problems with that last time. It was Leroy and Leroy. So I said some wild stuff so that I can impugn Leroy's character. Um, but anyway, I'm Leroy. That's Michael. This is the We Trine channel, our Nerdy by Nature Productions, and we're here to talk about Bam 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 Ironheart. Uh, Disney has released all 6 episodes of the show. We actually did watch them together at the same and finished them. Michael actually finished it first,
Hmm.
and we're here to give a review. We're here to talk
Yeah.
about the show. So, Michael, what do you know about the character?
Only thing I knew is it's she's a very smart black girl who built an Iron Man type suit
Okay.
before like Wakanda Forever and before this show. That's pretty much all I knew.
Okay.
Oh, and that she did have an AI that was Tony Stark, maybe.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay. Um,
Are you gathering your
so
thoughts? What's
no, no,
up?
no. no. I just, I was just saying. I just wanted to know where your head was when it came to like the character, because
Hmm.
I think there are people who know the character from the comics. There are people who know the character from Wakanda Forever, and there are people who are going to stumble upon this character based on this particular show. And I think it's interesting, depending on where you come from, what your perception of the show is going to be.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, Disney. Executive produced by Ryan Coogler. Um, it's a six issue series from Disney Plus. It's part of um, Phase Six.
Sir, phases don't matter anymore. What are we doing?
You know what? You're right. You're right.
What are we,
Uh,
Disney doesn't know.
you're
They
right.
don't know.
You're right. You're right. Um, the one thing a lot of people had a problem with is that
Are we
there
doing
was
spoilers? Oh, okay.
no there was no marketing promotion for this show. So did you know? Did you remember this show was coming out in June?
Vaguely. I will say like I knew of some marketing, but that's probably because I am on Disney Plus more than other people,
Hmm.
watching other stuff, and I because we do have a channel and we do review these type of things, I probably know more than a layman person. So I knew it was coming, but if you're not really into it, if you're not looking at IGN or going on forums and threads and stuff like that, you could very likely miss this show.
So that was one of the criticisms of Disney Plus is that this show was not marketed, and people wondered, was that on purpose? And it was also released in 3 episode. It was released within a week of the fully released within a week of each other, 3 episodes and then another 3 episodes. And I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if that's on purpose, and I wonder if that's a new strategy of Disney Plus.
Because Andor did that, right? That's less most recent season of Andor was 3 episodes
It was three
released.
episode bursts, but there was a lot of promotion before Andor was released.
Sure.
And so that was one of the problems a lot of people, or criticism a lot of people noticed. I'm not on Twitter, I'm on Threads, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram. But that was one of the things that I noticed a lot of people, particularly in the black community, were like, why is this not getting promotion like some of mentioned Andor, and even the acolyte of some of the Disney Plus shows, Skeleton Crew, that were given a huge full court press. Um, I also noticed a lot of the actors and actresses weren't on a lot of late night television shows. Um, we saw Tony Gilroy, uh, Diego Luna. We saw a lot of these people on Fallon, um, Kimmel, on these shows ahead of time during their run promoting the show. So I don't know what to make of that. I'm still trying to make sense of that. Um, but I was really looking forward to this show. This was Ironheart was one of my favorite characters of the legacy characters that were created. Brian Michael Bendis and created the character along with Michael Dodato and
You
Brian
said
Michael.
legacy character for a second. What do you mean by legacy character?
So there
Because when
was
you
a
say legacy character, I feel like Tony Stark is a legacy character. What do you
no
mean by legacy
legacy
character?
characters means or and correct me if I'm wrong in chat. Legacy characters are you have a main character, a character that you know, and then there's another character created that's like an homage to that character. So kind of like Miles, um, it would be considered, and I could be wrong. The way I'm interpreting this is these legacy characters are homages to the original character. So
Okay,
like, um,
got it.
so you have Iron Man, which is Tony Stark. You have War Machine, which is Rowdy. Ironheart is the first to me apprentice. Riri is the first like apprentice to Iron Man, so to speak.
I can
And
understand that.
so, um,
So is that like when they did the all new, all young Avengers or whatever?
yes,
And
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of those people were kind of like
yeah, uh huh,
you had your Miles
yes,
Morales for Spider Man, Miss Marvel was Captain Marvel, and I don't
yeah.
Nova was just Nova. I don't know who Nova was inspired by.
Nova. So there's various Novas. You have Jack Ryder, and then there's a couple, and then you have Sam. What is the kid Nova? So yeah, so like there's a bunch of like younger kid versions of these original characters, and that's what these legacy characters to me were.
Got it.
And you actually had a series called was it Marvel's Legacy, where you had like or was no it was Generations, um, uh, where it was yes Generations written by Bendis, which were basically kind of like Miss Marvel in Captain Marvel, where all of these legacy characters kind of teamed up and told a story. So like
Hmm.
X-23 teamed up with Wolverine. Um, I'm trying to remember who else. No, that's 2018. So I'm pulling this up as we talk about it. So yeah, I was really looking forward to Ironheart. So no spoilers. What did you think of the show?
The show was fine. I liked. I really um, enjoyed it overall. I
Mhm.
will say I'm seeing lights outside my window. I didn't know what's going on.
Somebody's coming to rob you.
I don't know. It's just weird.
That's
Um,
me. That's me as we record this. That's me coming to get that Metal Gear Solid PlayStation.
fantastic. Um,
This right here is AI. That's really
yeah.
me outside about to
Okay.
jack you.
Great. Um, yeah. It was enjoyable. And I won't get into spoilers, but I did not like the character, or I don't like where the character Riri ends up.
Ah,
And we can talk about that more when
okay,
we get into spoilers.
okay. Um, this was a hard one for me, and the reason why I said it is because this is a show. It did not give me what I wanted. This show. So when I say that, I, I love Riri. So this is her first solo series. Number one, I have that graded. I believe that is a 9.8. CBCS. Didn't care. I got it graded only because I wanted it preserved. That's and here is her first appearance. That's a 8.0. I'm probably going to crack this and get it pressed, but this is her first appearance. So what happened was on the road to Civil War II, Invincible Iron Man, the series, Riri's actual first appearance was like a mini story at the end of Iron Man, where she was in college, she was building her Iron Man suit, and I love this character. I have her first Marvel Legends. I have her Marvel Dynamic statue. Um, if you go on our Instagram page and scroll through, you'll probably see it in my display case. I've had to box all of that up and put it away. I have the MCU first appearance, uh, Riri Williams, Ironheart. My kids actually play with it. They know who Riri is. So I was really looking forward to this series, but there is a difference in the series and the actual comic character. And I wondered how they would do how they would pull this off. So in the actual series, um, I can show these two things again. Riri, the AI in the show
So we no
is
spoilers.
no, I'm not gonna spoil it.
Okay.
The AI in the show is not the AI in the comics. Her AI in the comics is actually Tony Stark. And so I don't know if you remember, if you had been paying attention, the build up to the show was a lot of people were wondering because Tony Stark was back, aka Robert Downey Jr. was back, but he was Doctor Doom. Was Tony going to voice, or was Robert Downey Jr. going to voice Tony Stark in this show as her AI? And I was one of those people who wanted that because I wanted that connection that Riri had with Tony Stark
Hmm.
because their relationship to me was key to the character. This show does not do that. So I was very conflicted with watching the show and wanting that character to be what I had from the comics, and then divorcing myself and saying, this is not the show that I thought it was going to be. So it was hard for me. I liked it. I eventually, once I was able to grasp that this is not that character, and this is an interpretation that Ryan Coogler and the team were doing, I was able to accept that. But it was very hard for me, I have to admit, because this is not like her suit's not the same. The characters in the actual show are not the characters that I identified with from her first series. So yeah, it was hard for me.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think the show when it first came out, it got pretty low review scores.
Hold on,
Now it's
low review scores from who? Because it's as far as Rotten Tomatoes, the aggregate, it's the third best Disney Plus series from this phase.
right. You didn't let me finish.
Okay,
I
I
said
had to
when it
make
came out, the score was low. Since it's been out, it's steadily gone up. It's at 86 now. 'Cause I'm looking at it now, but it wasn't 86 when it first came out.
okay.
So I feel like there might have been a review bomb campaign, which of course it is.
Now,
Um,
hold on. When you mean 86, do you mean critic score or do you mean overall score? Because there's two different scores.
the thermometer is 86.
Okay,
The popcorn meter is 51 right now.
okay.
But yeah, I was
Because
just
we
talking about critically.
because we have to acknowledge those two things. We have to acknowledge the racism in the room, the racist elephant in the room, that
Hmm.
there is a concerted effort of people to review bomb and to criticize anything that has people of color, whether they be black, Hispanic, whatever color they are, whatever rainbow spectrum you want to choose, or women involved, that is female involved or women involved,
Hmm.
and we have to acknowledge that. And I going back to the release schedule, I wonder did that play into this? I don't know, but I do know, and I will say that there is a campaign of people online criticizing the show, not watching it, not understanding what they were trying to do with the show, just because there's a black girl as the main character.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I totally agree with all of that. I think it has since kind of leveled out. I mean, people are going to be racist. You're not going to change that. But I think that as more people have seen it, they've come to appreciate it more or something.
Yes.
Because to me, I did notice that the critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes has steadily gone up, and now, like I said, it
Yes.
sits at an 86.
Yes.
But yeah, for me, the biggest thing was, and not Dominique Thorne. I think she played the character fine. It's
Mhm.
just Riri, um, not sitting well with me, and I wonder if we're
Girl be
gonna
fucking
get.
up.
I wonder if we're gonna get resolutions to that, because I don't know that this is gonna get a season two. I would like it to, because it definitely has a cliffhanger. There are some loose threads that end that will more than likely we're gonna see in other stuff. Um, but you can't say that for sure, because there's a bunch of dangling threads in Marvel and MCU right now
Yeah.
that may or may not get resolved. So I hope this is not the case for Ironheart.
Video to come later. Dangly threads of the MCU. What gets resolved, what doesn't. Which I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of like all these dangling threads only because it reminds me of the comics of like who's the third Summers brothers? What did what was on the videos, like what happened when the video screen popped up and they were like the X-Men got killed, and it ended up like, for those of you who read the comics, there's just a ton of plot threads Marvel would leave hanging, and one of them was the X-Men were Bishop's future. The X-Men are massacred, and who did that? And who was the result of the downfall of the X-Men, and like this these whole plot threads. Personally I love this MCU. Will they wrap this up or they just let this die on the vine? Um, but you're right. There is a lot that is left on the table that needs to be resolved. Which I wonder, do they resolve it in a season two, or do they fold all of this into another show? And we can get to that in spoilers. So
Hmm.
um, I will ask this: two questions. One, do you want to see a season two, or do you want another show with Riri as part of a larger cast or a larger ensemble? And what is your rating for this show? And you finish, I'm really feeling the glasses. You look very much like someone who is we should listen to. Like you have an authority about you,
You
like a
mean because I have
Fedorian.
glasses like you?
No, no, no. You
Oh,
don't have
okay,
glasses like me. You have glasses that speak to Professor Patterson. You have like
sure.
a you have a Thelonious Monk look to you, whereas I have
Well,
angry
the,
bald black energy.
these are my glasses to see far away, so I can play my video games and not
Okay.
squint at the screen.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would be happy with a season two as opposed to putting her in something else,
Okay.
I, because of what happens in this season, I need her to have her own screen time
Hmm.
to do some changes, and I don't know that she'd be able to do that if she was in another show.
Okay.
So I would want a season two. And I enjoyed the ancillary characters and the side characters in this.
Hmm.
I have some questions about power levels and power dynamics in terms between, like, how strong are you and what are your powers, and so that's what you do. Is that from the comics? Like, is that cool?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. Um, God bless Anthony Ramos. I love him. Philip Schuyler, and who else was he in Hamilton? Philip
Uh,
Schuyler and
he,
somebody else. He played somebody else.
he wasn't
Played
Thomas
Prince.
Jefferson, was he? No, he was
No, that was David.
he was
Maybe he was just the.
no, he was Lafayette.
No,
Was
that's
he
David.
Lafayette? No, he
No,
was
that's David Diggs.
no, David couldn't be Thomas Jefferson and Lafayette.
Yes, he was, because there were two halves of the different. First half was Lafayette. Second half was Thomas Jefferson.
Anthony Ramos was two different characters.
I know.
He was Hamilton's son in Act
Yes,
Two, and he
Philip
was
Schuyler, I think, was the name.
yep, because he got killed.
Hmm.
Um,
They don't care about this. Doesn't matter.
no, no,
Anyway,
no.
I say all that
Have
to say.
I have to know.
Okay, I say all that to say that hood looks ridiculous. I don't know what it was. The hood did not work for me in live action. I've seen stills from the comics. It looks okay. The something about it in the live action didn't work. Maybe because it was a TV budget as opposed to a movie budget, but it just wasn't working for me.
John Lawrence.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I couldn't let that go. Good, continue.
Okay, no, that was it.
Yeah.
I like
No,
Anthony
no,
Ramos, but
no,
the,
no.
the
Just
hood just wasn't working for me.
I, so this is one of the things that I think the MCU still has a problem with, where, and this is the thing that I think. Follow me on this. The MCU and Marvel and Disney have done a good job of making a lot of costumes believable,
Hmm.
whether it's CGI, whether it's they've done a very good job in certain areas of making certain things believable. And then, excuse me, they've done a very bad job in other instances. Perfect example. I believe that they did a terrible job with Chris Evans' Captain America costume in the Avengers. But in Winter Soldier, I think they did an awesome job with the
Hmm.
Captain America look in Winter Soldier. I think First Avenger, Captain America, is a success when it comes to costume design for Captain America. I think the hood, mm, I think they did a poor job of making the hood believable. I think they could have done a better job of making the hood more believable, but I don't know if they had the budget for that or they thought about that. Because I thought the hood, as far as melding and meshing with the character, maybe not CGI, but I felt like it looked cheap.
Hmm.
Because I thought when the characters were like, it looks like something that's Prada, they were like throwing out designer names. I was like, no, it doesn't.
No, that looked
And
like
I,
Halloween store.
and I felt like the hood should have been more alive, kind of like Doctor Strange and the cloak. I felt like you should have gotten more of that. Now, I'm not saying it should have been a sentient character, but I felt like it
Well,
should have.
is the hood in the comic a sentient character like the cloak is?
We'll get to that a little later on,
Okay.
but I do believe that the hood should have functioned differently. And I feel like the hood should have been its own character. And I feel like that's something that was lacking in the show. But to get back to your point, I agree with you on both fronts. I do want to see Riri in our own show. Or here's another thing, do a standalone movie. I would love that. Do a standalone movie with that. I would love to see that. I, I, as long as we get more of her, I'm okay with it. I would like to see, and here's the thing, I think it's more, you don't need to meet another 6 issue series. Give me 4 episodes. Give me 4 tight episodes of Riri dealing with everything. I'm good with that. Um, and my, what did you give your ranking?
No, I gave it a 3 out of 5
Three out of
AIs.
five.
Yeah.
Um, I'll give it 3 out of 5. Joes.
Okay.
I give it. I'll give it a solid 3 out of 5. I'm not going up. I'm not going down. It was a good show. It was solid. There were things that I did like. There were things that I liked, and we'll get into spoilers about like what I liked and what I really did like. But so far, I I think this is a success,
Hmm. Okay.
and I like the 3 episode release. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't mind that. Like I think certain shows do deserve a episode weekly episode release. I think this is one of the ones that, if this is their new scheduling, I don't mind it. Now, how do we change the background? Because I know that was one of our things for
Well,
spoiler.
we used to have a
The
orangish
orange, yeah.
background, but it's like seems to be gone now. So we're just going to go with the purple or something. I don't know.
Boom. You know what? I like that for our regular show. Like that. That's how we should start. Like that's cool. That
Okay.
looks fancy. That's bougie new. That's
Sure.
we bougie Negroes now.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay.
So we've been talking about 20 minutes.
Riri's an asshole.
Right,
She's an
son.
asshole, and she is not redeemed by the end of the show.
Hold
At
on.
least in
Here's the
my
thing.
opinion, I don't think she's redeemed.
I I don't think she's redeemed, but here's the thing. I liked the beginning Riri
Hmm.
when she was at school. I
Hmm.
wanted to see more of that. I did not like the Riri who did not learn, and that's the biggest problem that I have with this show. That they did not do a good job of having her learn, and that's why I love Joe so much. That's why I love Eldon. What's his name? Uh, the guy who plays Joe, who plays Ezekiel Stain. Um, what is his name?
Alden
Eldon
Eldrick or blah 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 blah.
Alden Einrich.
Han
Enrich.
Solo.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's why he to me he's one of the best characters in this show.
Yeah, I like him.
I think because he identifies Riri's problem,
Hmm.
and Riri to me does not identify how devastating she is for everybody else around her,
Oh yeah,
and that's one of the biggest problems I have with this show.
I like.
I,
It's
lo-
hard
I
for me to root for her because there are so many parallels to Tony Stark, and I think that's on purpose. 'Cause like we said, it's a legacy character,
yes,
Tony Stark. So she
yes,
builds a suit. Tony Stark starts off as an asshole, a charismatic asshole, but still an asshole.
he's a
I
weapons dealer. He's a
Yeah,
goddamn weapons dealer. But
yeah,
here's the
but
thing. Go
but
ahead.
even with that, there, granted, he had 6 or 7 movies to really change and become something else. But even by the end of the first movie, he's definitely different.
Yes,
I don't know that Riri's really different by the end of these 6 episodes,
she's
and
not.
it kind of reminds me of kind of in the reverse, but when but I liked it when it did it in Luke Cage. The Luke Cage had was what 2 seasons or 3 seasons?
2 seasons.
2 seasons. At the end of the second season, Luke Cage seemed like he was kind of breaking bad a little bit, right? And he was kind of distancing himself from Claire, and he was going to run stuff. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a cool storyline to follow because we had 2 seasons of him really trying to do something, and he was slowly being broken down, and he felt like he needed to change. I thought that was cool. Here, she sucks to everybody. She's dishonest. She really only does stuff for herself, and she never really has her comeuppance. At one point, she says, "I'm sorry," and
Hmm.
fine, but it's kind of like show don't tell. Like you telling me she's sorry, but show me that she's sorry or something.
Yeah,
And it's just like, and that's why I really want that second season. Like, okay, maybe season 2 will be the second half of her recouping or dealing with her PTSD, dealing with the loss of her best friend, dealing
yes,
with all that stuff. But it's like if
and
it's only
stepdad.
one season, it's kind of like, that sucks.
Yeah. So I'm looking for this quote, and I apologize because it is so. You mentioned the difference between Tony Stark and Riri, and it's I. I'm looking for it, but basically the idea is, hold on, it's in here. But basically the idea. Oh, here it is. Um, if you kill a cockroach, you're a hero. If you kill a butterfly, you are bad. Morality has aesthetic standards. And I
Hmm.
say that to say that's the difference between Tony Stark and Riri. We like Tony Stark because aesthetically, here is a white dude from privilege who is a weapons dealer, but he is charismatic. From even as he's going to this arms deal to the military. Remember this thing when he does like this, and
Hmm.
then and he's in the RV,
The
the
Humvee.
get the Humvees, and then like he's still charismatic because that's this aesthetic that we're used to. Whereas Riri is just as destructive in people's lives, but she's dealing with trauma and pain, and we are not accepting of her being destructive because she is not charismatic, because she is not quippy. She is abrasive. She lies. She steals. She puts people, she does not worse things than Tony Stark because, again, Tony Stark is a weapons. He is literally Nicolas Cage with missiles from Lord of War. You remember that movie, Lord of War, where
I don't know if I saw it, but I'm
he is
familiar
literally
with it.
just juiced up. And we are and I remember that about myself being critical of Riri in the show because there is no acknowledgement of how bad she is and how detrimental she is to people around her, to the point where she never even thought about the fact of when she fucked over Joe would be mad with her.
Hmm.
Like it was just like she realized Joe, like, it's fucked up, but then when she's in jail, she was like, "Oh, why are you hanging out with the hood?" And Joe's like, "Bitch, he broke me out of jail." Like, really?
Hmm.
And so I am definitely with you on that. I really wanted more of her understanding the effect she's had on other people. I thought she was very selfish, but I also thought this is what happens to people when they do not acknowledge their pain. Lauren, friend of the show, introduced me to this term. Even though I knew it, I knew the concept. Hurt people hurt people.
Hmm.
And this is a perfect analogy for that. Riri is hurt. She is damaged. She does not know how to deal with the loss of her best friend. She does not know how to deal with the loss of her stepdad, who was what the parental figure she identified with, because we see that she can't identify with her mom.
Yeah.
She has a problem with her mom. So we have all of that, and then you have this genius. And one of the things that I think it took too long for them to call her out on it. Her mother and Joe called her out when she kept saying, "Why did you build this suit?"
Yeah. And she kept giving that half-ass
Mhm.
answer
And both
because I
of
could or whatever. Yeah.
Mhm. And I say that to say, once I got past that, I was not getting, again, this character, because we
Hmm.
did not get this character.
Right.
Once I got past that, I was along for the ride, and I really enjoyed the show. Um, I two two problems. We talked about the hood. I really was upset that Eric Andre was not in the show more because I really wanted him for comic relief. I really like him as an actor.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, yeah. I really like, and I can't think of his name, but he
who-
was the guy that was in, was it Dirty Moms, Dirty Women? What was
oh
the
yeah,
show?
Dirty Moms.
Is it
I
called
know
Dirty Moms? That doesn't sound right. Like it sounds
Manny
like it's kind of right, but not
Manny
right.
Montana. Yeah, cousin John. Yeah, John.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But that can't be. That's not what it's called.
yeah, Dirty Moms.
No.
No, it's not. It's called Good Girls.
Good girls. Thank you. Yes. Have me looking up stuff now. I'm gonna be
Or
on a site. Okay.
Dirty Moms. Dirty Moms is a Netflix show with the girl who has the bad breath from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the one with the messed up teeth.
Yeah, I
That
like her. She's
Yeah,
funny.
she dates Dennis. There's a
Yeah.
show on Netflix called Dirty Moms. But continue. Cousin John.
Yeah. I don't think it's called Dirty Moms. I think it's called
What's it
something
called
else.
on Netflix?
Yeah, because I just typed in Dirty Moms Netflix. That did not come up. It came up with Watch a Bad Mom's Christmas. So I don't think it's called that. It's called something else. But
It's
I
called,
do know I do know the show you're talking about because I've seen
yeah,
the
because me
thumbnail.
and Kitty watched it because she's a businesswoman who had a kid who goes back to work, and like how women who have kids and like the career thing. I'm trying to remember what the name of the show is.
You'll
But
figure it out. Um,
I
my
will.
unsung hero, and I like Cree Summer. Cree Summer is always great in everything that she does. Her being magical and her teaching her apprentice daughter being magical, that was good.
Selma. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I like this. I want to see more of that. And then having that post credits with Zelma and the Hood, I'm like, I
Mhm.
hope we get to see more of these characters.
See, I
That
didn't
that
like
was fun.
I
Oh,
did
interesting.
like that. I did. So here's the thing. I love Cree Summer. Like, get the fuck out of my shop. Once that when they
Yeah,
when
she's like, mm nah.
she was like, nah, nah, we need to get out. I love that because to me that was that record, that was that realization of you still on that fuck shit. That like she was like, it was almost like without saying it, get your girl. Cause
Yeah,
you on this fuck shit. You brought that shit in my house. I love that. I didn't like that ending only because I felt like Zelma, after everything they went through, Selma, you ain't recognized. You shouldn't just be letting anybody in. Like the realization of Zelma not paying attention of so this dude just came in and you ain't not necessarily I'm saying you putting two and two together, but everybody should not have access to you.
yeah.
And this idea of not asking questions, this naivety is
See,
bothering
I
me.
took that
I
as
could
an
not.
I was okay with it because I took that as her being young. Like to me, they cremated it clear that there's still magic you don't need to mess with, and she's like, I can do it, I can do it, that type of stuff. She was still kind of naive and young, so I was okay with it. But I understand that. I'm trying to
Working
think.
moms.
Working moms, okay.
Yes, that's what it's called. Continue.
No,
Hey man, y'all watch this. Y'all clicked on the button. So this is what we do. We go on tangents on other kind of shows. We bring in other people. You
yeah,
know, yeah. So this on y'all. Y'all click the button.
yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else.
Yeah, I see. I did not like that. So let's backtrack. So Zelma, I love the introduction of Zelma because Zelma comes from, and this is where I once I let go of this was not a tech show. I was like, okay, this is once I let go of all the technology and this, we're going to get all of this other stuff. That's when I came to the realization the type of show that we have. Zelma's from a comic called Strange Academy. So basically, all the magical kids end up in a school taught magic so that they don't become basically crazy and try to take over the world. It's basically
sure.
not trying to teach these kids, and you have some very interesting students in this kid. So I love Zelma. Um, Seeing her in the show, the person who plays Zelma, the I'm trying to look for her name. Give me 1 second. Uh, Reagan Aaliyah,
Hmm.
perfect. Like I'm like when I tell you, if you do a side by side of the character in the show and the comic character, perfect. No notes. She was great in the show. I loved her. I loved every time when she was like, when they were like, she was like, you said 50% before when she said 47. She was like, I was rounding up. Like I loved her.
Yeah.
Um, I enjoyed everyone around Riri. I felt like they gave Riri too much grace. Where they were like, because here's the thing, everybody else was dealing with the same loss. And I felt like they allowed her to be childish and selfish when we know in our community it's like, okay, you can grieve for a while, but then it was like, you need to go back to work.
Hmm.
Feel like that was kind of a cop out. But going back to the hood and cousin John, I loved Anthony Ramos. I called out friend of the show, Anton Gunn, when he was like Anthony Ramos reminded him of uh old boy from Empire, light skinned dude. Um, who was the
Terrence
original?
Howard.
Yeah, he
Oh.
he referenced the two of them, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. We not doing that. I
Hmm.
did not. I thought Anthony Ramos did a very good job. I do think some of his motivations should have been, or his deficiencies should have been more pronounced. Um, I think like the dad fight at the end of the show should
That
have,
was weird.
yeah, like I thought those seeds should have been planted better
Yeah, I
because
was like,
I
yeah.
was expecting him to be like a tech guy like Riri, who had been cast off by these people.
So what I want to know, how well do you know the hood? Was this accurate to
Parker
him at
Robbins,
all?
he is. So here's the thing: the Hood is a little watered down in this show. I feel like we're getting the origin of the Hood,
Hmm.
but the Hood from the comics, Parker Robbins, is a small time criminal who gets the Hood and then makes his way through the ranks and criminal organizations to have his own team, so to speak, his own like crew. And he's able to sit at a table when he reaches his height. There's a comic called The Cabal. And when the Hood reaches his height, he sits at a table with Doom, Namor, the White Queen. So that's who he ends up being. That's who he
Hmm.
is. And I feel like this version of him was the origin story. So I felt like they didn't do a good enough job of like tweaking him to the point. Like I think this is the origin story of him getting to that point. But that part wasn't there for me. That wasn't as tight. I did like the crew they put together. I thought they were very good. Here's my biggest quip with the show. I did not find episode 5 of when she fights in White Castle. I found that unbelievable.
Um,
I found her fighting the twins unbelievable.
I feel like those twins would have killed her.
Yes.
If she has none of her stuff, I think those twins would have killed
That,
her.
that,
So that
that,
is kind of yeah.
so here's the thing. I felt that was unbelievable. I felt the whole clown coming to the realization I felt clown's motivations was off because I felt like one clown you were so ready to kill Riri over John when John was about to kill you. Like
Hmm.
I felt like that writing was a little off, and I say this not being the best writer. I felt like that character arc wasn't as defined, but I felt like Joe was the best character in this show. I felt like you seen him try to fight his legacy, and I forgot that he was cast as Ezekiel Stain. So I remember when the casting and they were like, he's Ezekiel Stain, and I forgot all about that. So as I'm watching the show, I was like, when he talked about his dad, I was like, is he Ezekiel Stain? That was like,
Hmm.
and then when he finally when he was like they admitted he was Ezekiel Stain, I was like, I loved him.
Hmm.
I thought his casting was perfect. I thought his arc was great. I thought him as a character and being do not let this come back to me. I thought that was good. I thought them together were great. And I thought the grace he gave her when he told her to get out of Chicago, I thought was awesome. And I really liked seeing him get kind of screwed over
Hmm.
towards the end of the show by the Hood. I really enjoyed that because I felt like it was one of those things where he's still figuring this out, going from person to person, whereas Riri kind of influenced him to do better, fight for himself, and then he hooked up over here and didn't realize, oh, I probably should be smarter. And
Hmm.
then Riri just kind of like she helped him, but she only helped him to get what she wanted. And he's like, yeah, we're not done. We still got some beef.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed that. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. We haven't talked about the AI of it all
Oh, Natalie,
because
yes,
that's the big thing that's
yes,
different. So because in the comic, her best friend did die, right? Like that's a
yes,
big thing for her.
yes,
Yes, that's
yes,
all. Okay,
yes. And
but
and
here we have the
the AI
huh?
is Tony Stark,
Yes.
and that so that's one of the things where in the comic Tony Stark is mentoring her as the AI because his brain because Tony Stark dies in the comic, but Tony Stark is Tony Stark. He is a lot. He finds a way to upload his consciousness as an AI, and he figures out and he mentors Riri as she is going through her superhero training, so to speak. And so,
Hmm.
like, that I think for me was a lacking that was missing from the show. But again, they're not telling that story. So I had to get over that's something I had to get over for myself. But that also goes back to that point of the AI that is Natalie. What does she bring to the show? So,
Yeah. I like the actress Lyric Ross. I liked her. I liked the chemistry she had with Dominique Thorne. I thought she was great through all the episodes that she had. Um, I think it's an interesting idea because I don't know if people were paying attention. Well, I won't say that because that's a different thing. But uh, the idea of her processing her grief, because I still don't think she ever really processed the grief, even with having the AI there.
yeah.
So it seems like it's a lingering thread. And if they get to wrap it up in another season, that's cool. But otherwise, it's kind of I almost feel like it's almost irresponsible to be like, oh, here's some way you could deal with
Yeah.
your grief. You get to make your own AI. It's like, well, not everybody can really do that. That
And
seems
not
kind
only,
of
and not only that, I think one of the things where, and I don't know if this is because of the writer's room or because she was mad at the AI for not processing the grief, which was part of her. When bitch, you ain't processed the grief. You mad at Natalie for not processing the grief when she's from you.
hmm.
Like, you need to process the grief. And I think that's a very great thought because you not processing the grief led you to make an entirely new deal with the goddamn devil
Hmm.
that you were mad at the hood for.
Yeah,
It's just like
yeah,
you over here talking about like the hood, you don't need to do this and all this other stuff. And bitch, you just made the same goddamn deal. You just didn't
yeah,
have a hood.
yeah. Um, yeah, she definitely comes off looking like a dummy and an idiot. I think through this show, and I
Well,
hope she gets her own season two or something where she gets to redeem herself. I will say
well,
this: the end credit with her going to some world where Natalie is alive, I think is interesting.
but
It
I don't
does
think she
seem
goes I don't think she goes to some world. I think that's this world. I think the deal was Natalie's alive, you sold your soul, and now you have to figure out how to navigate. Because here's the thing, and
oh,
that's
so you think it's the same world?
oh yeah.
Have you
He
seen the speculation?
mm,
This is a stretch, but I think it's interesting because it's just fun to talk about nerd stuff. Some people are like, "What if this is the Fantastic Four world that she's in, where there's an Natalie that's alive?"
oh, so you're thinking out of all the different worlds, he has plucked her from our world and put her in a world where Natalie survives.
Yes.
That's a good
No, no,
concept.
that's not what I think, but that's a theory that I've seen. Like, oh,
No, no,
that's
no.
interesting.
No, no, I'm saying if you're thinking about it from the stance of the TVA has allowed all these different branches, and that Mephisto, because we haven't even gotten to that, we're about to wrap up, but I thought Sasha Baron Cohen as Mephisto was mm,
Yeah, he's fun.
bravo. Um, I think that was good. I think having him show up here finally was amazing.
Hmm.
Um, one, we finally get him. Two, I enjoyed because I was again one of those people who were like, "This is the physical presence of Dormammu," because that's what Zelma said. This is dark magic. This is old magic from a different dimension. And when he said Dormammu basically isn't
I think he said he
can't
could lick his asshole. What did he say?
whatever he said some shit,
He said
but
something.
he basically shitted on Dormammu, and I thought
Yeah,
that. And when he said it, I was like, "So who are you?" And I was like, "No, you're not," because when I'm watching this go back and forth, and I was like, He's not, is he? And I was like, oh, because the idea of who the idea that Mephisto is now here opens up so many possibilities and
Hmm.
so many people. Your boy, bringing back Ghost Rider, the idea of Mephisto being here, Doctor Strange and Clea, like I love it, and I also love the fact that you have somebody who, acting wise, can stand toe to toe with anyone who is cast in the MCU. I think Sacha Baron Cohen is one of the most underrated actors of our time. I would say Sacha Baron Cohen.
You keep saying Barra, not Baron.
Baron? You think?
Baron.
Oh, sorry. I need to enunciate better. Um, Baron.
There we go.
Sacha Baron Cohen
Yes.
is one of the most underrated actors of our time, generation even, because I think that man can play any part. Have you watched the spy show that he did on Netflix,
Nope.
where he plays a Mossad agent?
Mm-mm.
See, I think the Borat, the Brothers Grimm shit that he does, I think the surf, like he's a good actor,
Well,
and I
yeah, he got a lot of praise when was that movie Hugo? You know what I'm talking
mm,
2011 Hugo. Who did it? Was that Martin Scorsese? Yeah, directed by Martin Scorsese. People were like, "Oh," it came out 2011 because people were like, "Oh, he can do
yeah,
other stuff
I know
besides."
what you're talking about. Yeah, Hugo. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't watch that, but yeah, um, I I think him being cast as Mephisto is amazing, and I like this idea of him making this deal with Riri, and Riri not understanding. And that's another thing. I th- there's no one in her life that she will listen to, and I think that's what's lacking in this show. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that if you think about the show, there's no one in her life that there's no mentor. She's missing Gary. And I think that is what puts her on this trajectory to make all these bad decisions. And I'm hoping that's what we see in season two or in another show where she finally gets that mentor figure.
hmm,
It's why she doesn't. I would love to see her get that to help her make these better decisions, help her deal with this grief. But yeah,
sure.
I thought that part was amazing. And I like the fact that we have some actors who can. I really like Anthony Ramos as the Hood.
Hmm.
I'm a little skeptical as him, but I really like him as a Hood because I think he does a good job of playing not necessarily larger than life, but I want to be on this stage with other people, but you're not there. And I think the guy, Alden Einrich, playing Ezekiel Stain, I think he brings a presence to the show where he's not a bad guy, he's not a good guy, he's just trying to figure it out. I love him. I'd like to see more from Natalie, who is the AI. I want to see her going forward. How do we integrate her going forward into the season two of this show or whatever the next iteration of the show is? And how do you deal with the fact of you're alive because Riri brought you back because she made a deal with the devil, but also Riri made you an AI in her suit, which you're basically an electronic butler.
Hmm.
So yeah. So we've been talking about an hour. So what's your final thoughts going forward on this show?
It's a fun show. I would say watch it. It's definitely enjoyable,
Yeah,
and
agreed.
I hope this is a something that gets touched on because Mephisto's too big of a character to not come back up. But I
Oh
hope
yeah,
Riri doesn't get shuffled aside.
yeah. I definitely see Mephisto coming back. Um, Let me ask you this, and I we haven't touched on it. What do you think as far as the presence? I'm trying to word this correctly. We talk a lot about, and I think so. Somebody brought up Brie Larson's character or comments about her show when she did Wheel of Time, and that was where a lot of the hate for Brie Larson came from when she made the comments about the critics' review of Wheel of Time. A lot of people are like bringing those comments back up because they're like, she was a prophet when it came to this. A lot of people who review these shows do not look like the people who make these shows or in these shows.
Hmm.
This is a show about a black girl dealing with trauma, and even though we are black men, we're not black women.
Hmm.
What do you think about this idea of this show being a not a beacon, but something for young black girls to see and identify with, and us seeing more of it of varied characters that we're not always getting these white dudes running around saving the world
I think
characters.
that's great. I think we need more shows like that. I just watched a show on Amazon that has been canceled, but it came out last year, called the Pradeeps of Pittsburgh.
The
It's
what?
about a Pradeeps. Last name is Pradeep. It's an Indian family. It's a family that moves from India for a better life, the American dream in Pittsburgh. It's a comedy, like maybe 8 episodes on Amazon Prime. I really liked it, but I think anytime I can get shows with other people that don't look like me, I think is great.
Hmm.
Kind of the one reason I really like to watch my Indian cinema movies a lot. Like, oh, this is something different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's one of the
I just don't want Riri to be an asshole. That's all.
yeah. So and that's the question where I would say, is she an asshole or is she just dealing with grief and she's not dealing with it appropriately? Because to me, yeah, she to some she is an asshole. To others, she is dealing with grief and she is not dealing with it appropriately. And I personally am still trying to figure out which one that is. Because I'm with you. I agree with the fact of, yeah, bitch, you need to do better. But also, I hate to turn this back on me. I'm raising two boys. And let me tell you, raising yourself is not easy. Michael, you've met me.
Hmm.
Imagine two people who have some of the same intonations that I have with none of the real world experience,
Hmm.
and you can't hit them. Man, it's hard. And the reason why I bring that up is because I am doing my best, and I think that's what Riri is doing. She is doing her best, and we are judging her based on our perception of what her best is. And I think we got to do a better job of. She's just doing the best she can.
Um, I would push back on that and say, if that's the case, then I need more introspective scenes. And maybe I need to watch it again. I need more introspective scenes of her where she's on her own dealing with something or whatever. Because to me, she just seems like a person who doesn't care about others. For somebody who built that suit to be like a suit of armor and protection because she lost people, I feel like she, even if she can't understand her mom, she would do something to keep her more in her circle, in my opinion.
And you know what? You're right about that. One, you're right. I got to be a better parent because that's what you said without saying it. But
Sure.
y'all clicked on this. Y'all knew what you were getting into. Anyway, I agree with that. And because we don't see that, we do not see that in the show. That there is nowhere in the show where she it's always her busy doing stuff. And even when she has a conversation with her mom, when her mom tries to challenge her, and she's like, "That's why I don't want to talk to you because you want me to be you." And it's like, "No, bitch. She wants you just to acknowledge and talk. She just wants you to. She loves you and wants to know what's going on with you and how you're dealing with this trauma, and you've never dealt with it."
Hmm.
So I definitely agree with that. That like I agree with that 1,000%. That she has to be better. Riri has to be better at communication and how she relates to people because you made an AI of your best friend, and that's my man's sister, and you ain't even telling. Like,
Hmm.
and even Natalie was like, "Yo, don't tell him. It's gonna come back to bite you, and you go look bad." And I
Hmm.
feel like that was I liked that scene. I really did. I thought the writing around that and how Natalie tried to do her best not to be seen, especially after how she showed up to her mom. Like I felt like that was very well done. Um, so yeah, um, agreed.
Cool. Wrap this up.
So we've been talking for about an hour. I'm quite sure there are smarter people out there other than us who can distill all of this thing in a shorter video. But that's not what you signed up for. You signed up for that Negro and this Negro. Like, comment, and subscribe. That's Michael. I'm Leroy. We enjoyed Ironheart. We gave it both a solid 3 out of 5. Um, we have a lot of notes, as you can see. We would like a season 2. So, Disney um, consultants, put us on retainer. We will do this for all your shows because we will keep doing it for all your shows. If you have any comments, right there, I'm the dude. Michael will not see anything you say. Matter of fact, Michael doesn't even want to hear what you got to say. I
I'll be
really,
that.
I really expect you to be like, no, 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 no. I want to hear it.
No,
I
I'll
really,
be that. That's fun.
I really was not expecting that. Anyway, um, let's talk about it in the comments because I enjoyed this show, but this was not the show that I wanted. I wanted the Riri from the comics, and this is not that. This is a totally different show, but I'm okay with it. I'm on board with it. So, with that being said, we appreciate it. Until next time, I'm Leroy. That's Michael. We out. Deuces.